Welcome back. House Republicans are kicking off a three-day retreat, a conference retreat this afternoon at President Trump's Doral Golf Club in Florida. Trump is expected to speak with them tonight. Vice President J.D. Vance also expected to be there for lunch tomorrow. The committee chair is set to hold several reconciliation meetings on how to pass Trump's top agenda items in one bill. Senate Majority Leader John Thune joined me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures to discuss. Watch.
We don't get this opportunity very often, and like I said earlier, it sometimes doesn't last very long, where you have unified control of the government and an opportunity to use budget reconciliation. So we should use it aggressively on tax policy, on energy policy, on border policy, and on the military, as we have talked about doing, and ensure that all those things get done in a way that keeps America safe, make sure that America is ready to deal with whatever crisis we face around the world, strengthens our economy, and makes us energy dominant. And so we are in the process of figuring that out and trying to, determine again the two numbers to remember: 218 in the House, 51 in the Senate. That's, in the end, that's what it's going to take to get this done.
Joining me now is Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, member of the House Ways and Means Committee and chairwoman of the Budget and Spending Task Force. Congresswoman, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. How do you approach this conversation? Tell us what your priorities are in terms of ensuring you can cover all of those things in a reconciliation plan.
Well, I think my priorities are the same as the president's, that are the same as American people. We're looking to secure our border, so we need to make sure that we're giving the resources to this administration to be able to deport millions of illegal aliens that have made their way over the last few years to our country. We have to make sure that we are becoming American energy dominance again. So we are kind of taking the shackles off that we've seen the last 4 years put on our American energy producers. And we've got to make sure that we're cutting our government spending. We have seen $36 trillion of debt add up, and it's killing our economy. We owe it to the American people to make sure that we are having a strong economy, but not continuing to put that kind of a burden on our American future.
Yeah, and I understand all that. I think our viewers have a good understanding of it as well. But what I'm really asking you is, how are you going to put all of these things in one bill when we know that things have changed? Now you've got L.A. to deal with. Now you're talking about $150 billion just for L.A. You've got another $120 billion that you're talking about to increase defense spending. You've got this debt ceiling debate. Oh, by the way, you've also got some of your members saying, I'm not signing a tax bill unless SALT increases are in there. So you've got a lot of different nuances here, even though you're talking about the same basic priorities.
Yeah, we have been, the beauty of it, I'm on the Ways and Means Committee, and one of the things that we've been talking about for the last over a year now is our tax policies and our tax plan. We have been having meetings after meetings after meetings of looking at what we're going to be able to cut as waste, fraud, and abuse. Obviously, what's happening in California has to be addressed. We've already passed a number of bills. If it was H.R. 2 that we passed that dealt with our securing the border last year, we already have a framework to work with. We're looking at H.R. 1 and our energy. Again, we already have a framework. And if you look at the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we already have a proven policy, proven programs that we can show actually benefited the U.S., the economy, the working families. So it's not as if we're starting from scratch here. Conversations are going to be difficult. We already saw under the first Trump administration, when he had, a trifecta, how that got blown because Republicans weren't working together. I think it's going to be really important that we all get on the same page, and you're absolutely right. You've got states like Texas that I represent that are not a big fan of SALT provisions, but then you've got other representatives from California and New York that are. This is going to take compromise. It's going to take hard work. This is why we're going to be together the next 3 days, hoping to nail this out. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what the president has to say tonight to kind of unify and bring us all together.
So what are some practical offsets that you can talk about that would actually give you some wiggle room to get all of this in there? I mean, President Trump signed an executive order to give him more control over California's water after he and the First Lady toured the wildfire destruction in the state, once again urging officials to release all the water to Los Angeles. Republicans talked about the wildfire and a raise in the SALT cap potentially being added to the reconciliation bill. Here's Senate Majority Leader John Thune with me yesterday. Watch this.
The so-called SALT caucus is, pressing hard to obviously get a change in that. We're looking at, in the context of tax reform in the big package, obviously extending the current existing tax laws. Yes, my hope is that as we move through this process, we will do it in a way that enables us to get all the votes that we need in the House of Representatives, and it's a narrow margin there, including the SALT caucus on board with whatever it is we do. But we need to make sure that we are delivering on the, for the American people and preventing what will be a $4.5 trillion tax increase next year if we don't act by the end of the year.
So Congressman, you have already identified some offsets. You and your colleagues have identified offsets for use in this bill. Can you walk us through what is possible as you also try to figure out what kind of an increase you can put to that SALT deduction?
There is a number of different offsets that we're looking at, whether or not it's pulling back on some of the policies that and programs that the Biden administration had put forward, whether or not it's looking at education, how much these massive endowments and how much they're putting a drain on our economy and not producing. There are a number of different waste, fraud, and abuse programs also that we're looking at. There's a huge overhaul, which is why I'm excited to be able to work with the DOJ caucus committee, whatever. There's a number of those initiatives that have been set. But we are working together right now to identify what those are, whether or not it's in Ways and Means, whether or not it's in budget. There's a number of different meetings that have been happening between the Speaker and the Whip with a number of different sections of the Republican caucus. There is a lot that we can do, but we cannot continue to spend. And you mentioned the SALT caucus. Yes, while they are very active and they are very vocal, you've got, I think, an equally vocal and majority number of members who are concerned, who we consider ourselves fiscal hawks, recognizing the fact that we have to be able to pass that Tax Cuts and Jobs Act extension, other programs for the American people, but it cannot continue to increase the deficit. It cannot continue to increase the debt. Those are the difficult conversations that we're having. Where exactly are those agreements going to be made on cuts?
I mean, what do you want to say about tariffs and about the border? Has a lot changed in Texas? I spoke with the governor yesterday, and the president of Colombia caved huge to President Trump's tariff threat yesterday. He said he is now willing to accept the deportation flights of illegal Colombian nationals after refusing 2 flights on Sunday. Speaker Johnson posted this on X. Colombia and all nations should be on notice. Congress is fully prepared to pass sanctions and other measures against those who do not fully cooperate or follow through on requirements to accept their citizens who are illegally in the United States. Are you willing to go to the mat, Congresswoman, and start putting sanctions on countries who are not going to agree with these deportation plans?
Absolutely. I think what you've seen in the last week alone is this is what leadership looks like. This is how you lead from strength. This is what has been lacking in the executive office for the last 4 years. This is not a man to be trifled with. This is a president that you have seen has had 4 years as president to recognize the fact that this is what works. This is the team to put together. And he's had the last 4 years to be able to put together the strategy and the plan, and he's executing on that. Do not mess with this man. He is very strong. He has America's best interest at heart. He has a mandate for the American people right now, and he's got the House and the Senate majority behind him. So I think, when we look at the threats, and we have a lot of people who are talking negative about tariffs, but the fact is that the threat works.
Okay, we'll leave it there. All right, don't mess with Trump. Congresswoman, good luck with the next few days. Good to talk with you. Beth Van Duyne joining us this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back.